Good morning, Mr. President and Minister. Mr. President, my question will be about the FAS meeting with President Trump. The joint statement did not mention about climate change. I was wondering whether it was discussed during your meeting with Trump. And my second question was that before the meeting, your op-ed, you mentioned about militarization and China's expansionism. Was there a concrete plan or development after you mentioned about China and the militarization?
So there's a saying that if there's a cement wall, don't run and hit the wall and knock yourself out. Try to find a way to go over the wall. My point is, we talked about mitigation and adaptation, but from a different angle. We didn't necessarily say debate about climate change, because President Trump's very clear position. We were not going to go there to convince him that please accept climate change. But we went in at a different angle, and so we did talk about some of the resiliency things that needed to be done. For example, I know about the IUU activities. That needs some military partnership, information sharing, technology sharing, and just the presence of the U.S. Naval and Coast Guard operations, say like the ship rider program, where our people board there. That's part of what needs to be done with. We also discussed the improvement of our port, the improvement of the airfields in Angar and Peleliu, and those are clearly addressing the impacts of climate change that we're experiencing in our part of the world. So yes, it was a respectful meeting. Both sides knew going into the meeting that we did not want this to be a confrontational meeting. We wanted it to be a productive meeting. And so we focused on things that were doable, important, that could be accomplished. Because I believe if you look at angle from all things, we probably have a lot more in common than we disagree on things, and we wanted to focus on those things that we agree with. The Department of Interior, there's so much that they can do with our CIP funding for the road, the improvement of the dock in Angkor that was destroyed by natural disasters. So all of these are very much in line with. I know the scientific community and some of our climate change partners would have wanted us to stand up and say this climate change is real or climate, but that's not. Sometimes you have to learn to do things in a way that can accomplish things and not just bark against the wall and come back home empty-handed. So this was the strategy we chose to take. And then, of course, our compact of the associations are up for renewals in 2023 and 2024 for Palau. And so it was important that we look at the timetables and begin the discussions. I'm not going to establish a compact review committee. I think that will be the first order of business for the next incoming government to start their own team and negotiate and talk beginning in 2021. But at least we're setting the momentum that there should be talks early. There should be talks early. It's never too early to start. That's the point that we can only look at the Palau Compact. review agreement, the second part. President Toribio concluded that in 2010, and we didn't get it completed until 2018. So for that, we thank President Trump, and the Congress of this current Congress. They got it passed, and he signed it. And I told him so. I said, well, you got it done after 8 years. The China militarization, that's an issue for everybody in the Pacific. The North and South Korea Peninsula conflict, that affects our stabilization and our security here. The China-Taiwan Strait conflicts, that affects our relationship with Taiwan and the security and stability of the region. The issues of the South China Seas, with the Philippines and Taiwan and Korea, those also affects the stability of the region. So, yes, we support and would like the U.S. to be a strong partner in the Indo-Pacific strategy, which aims to ensure that there's freedom of navigation, that there's freedom of respect. So you don't just sail through the waters of Palau without recognizing that we do have a 200 EEG. Security, those are the issues that we felt that the U.S. needed to establish a stronger presence here. And then, may I add, a very important component that we raised with the U.S. is the role of the private sector in Palau. We had to be honest and tell President Trump that the U.S. must have some investments in Europe, in our part of the world. We're the closest friends of the United States, but the investments here are Japanese, Chinese, and Koreans and other countries. We would like to see some U.S. investments here in Palau. And so we talked about OPIC. OPIC is the Overseas Private Investment Corporation. They are the arm of the United States to give confidence and promote U.S. companies to invest in outside of the United States. So those are the kind of things we talked about, and I think we overall it was a moment to focus on these small but doable issues that requires partnerships in order to be done.